Hi friends, my name is Debbie and today we're going to be painting this beautiful fall festive. We have leaves, we have some seeds, and we also have some beautiful flowers. I'm going to be using my journal. These plants, I found them in the front yard and they have a little bit of colors like fall kind of. I'm in Florida, so we don't get the full fall. But this is what I'm going to use for inspiration. And I'm also using my Melian paint, but you can use any paint that you have at home. So we're going to start off by painting our first leaf. Here I'm using my yellow ochre and just a touch of vermilion or any orange that you have at home. There's just a hint of an orange. And then on the side, I have the vermilion with a little bit more paint than water, and I mixed it with the yellow ochre, and we're just going around the leaf. First I put some water because I want the paint to spread evenly, so that's what I did at first. And now I'm adding my orange a little bit. It goes a long way. So we're gonna start off by making some lines, and the color is gonna move around because the paper is wet, so it's gonna spread very nice. It's gonna have no line marks. And then on the bottom, I'm using my sienna color and a little bit of brown, just a touch of a brown, and going back to my orange, put in some more marks in some areas. And remember, it's gonna spread, so don't worry about your lines. It's not gonna have any lines because the paper is still wet. And we're just adding a little bit more touches to give some more texture and to make it more natural and organic looking. I'm going back to my sienna. This sienna, I have a little bit of a brown, not too much, just a little bit. And then the one I'm using right now, this is my burnt sienna. And we're just adding in some areas of the leaf. I'm gonna put some dots, and it's gonna spread a little bit, but not too much. Also, I'm gonna put some here on the top, and this is gonna make the leaf look like it's kind of drying out a little bit. And we're just gonna spread this a little bit to the center, not too much. We want the edges to have that crunch and crisp with that brown color. I'm also adding a little bit of my sienna color just in the center, few dots here and there. You can put yours anywhere you like. It's your painting, so you decide where you want to put your dry parts of your leaf. And I'm just adding a little bit more to the bottom of my leaf, a little bit more of the darker brown. It was spreading too much, so I just want to make sure that it's showing a little bit more. And then going back to the top, making sure this brown is gonna pop a little bit. And if you see any marks that you don't like, just clean your brush and go back to where the paint is, and just pass your brush on top of the paint, and it's gonna spread really nice. Adding a little bit more brown. And my paper's still wet, so we don't have to worry about the marks. We just want a more natural looking leaf. That's why we're putting some dots and different colors. We're adding the sienna, the burnt sienna, and we also added some of the I added actually some of my yellow ochre, and I'm doing some lifting. I don't want all this brown moving to the center. I just want it on the edge and maybe some areas in the center, but just like dots. Adding a little bit more details to the edges. It's gonna make this leaf pop even more. And going back to my sienna, just adding a little bit more. And I'm just putting the stem with my darkest brown. In this case, I'm using the burnt sienna. Going back to it and just doing another layer with the same color. Moving on to the next leaf, we're gonna start off by getting our leaf wet, clean water, and this is gonna help us with the paint to move nice and even. So we're just spreading the water. Make sure you just keep it inside the leaf. We don't want to put the water on the outside, otherwise the paint is going to start moving towards the outside. So I'm putting my yellow ochre with a touch of burnt sienna. Very little on the burnt sienna, just a little bit. We want to keep it on the yellow side, and I'm just putting this pretty much all over the leaf, and then we're gonna add some more details to this one. So we're just gonna keep applying the yellow all the way to the leaves, the edges. And the easiest way to paint this kind of composition is to have your watercolors already pre-mixed and ready to go, so when you are adding colors, they're ready for you. You don't have to start mixing and waiting for the paint so the paper will get dried. In this case, everything is ready, so we're just dropping off the color. I'm adding some of my vermilion. I added a little bit of a rose color to it, just a little bit, not too much. We want to keep it on the orange side. And I'm just doing the edge, and as you can see, it's spreading because our leaf is still wet. So it's gonna give us some nice effects in there. Also, we're trying to keep the edge with that nice crisp color. We want to make sure it's still on the orangey side. Some leaves, they have beautiful colors, and they're not all even. They're not all alike, and some are darker, some are lighter. So that's what we're trying to achieve right now. We're adding a little bit of the sienna on the edge, and I'm gonna be moving this a little bit, adding some on this other side of the leaf, giving the illusion that it started to get dry a little bit, but not too much. And we're just going around the edge. Now I'm dropping a little bit of my sap green just to give a little bit more definition to this leaf. And also I wanted to look very natural. And we're not adding too much, just some areas of the leaf. We want to keep the yellow showing, and some of the orange also on the edges. I applied the same burnt sienna to my stem, and now I'm going back to the third leaf. So the same process, we're just adding clean water, and then we will be using pretty much the same colors. And you can add your personal touch. If you don't like those colors, you can add different colors that you have, maybe some yellow ochre or some yellow sienna. You can also add a little bit of red rose, some orange yellow, whatever colors you have in your palette, and you can mix with a little bit of browns to make your oranges and yellows a little bit darker. That's gonna be really nice, and they're gonna look more organic and more natural. So we're doing the same process, starting with the light colors, and then we're gonna build up with the darker colors. In watercolor, we always start with light, and then we move towards the darker ones. And the same process here, we're going around the edges, make sure they're nice and spreading nice and even. I'm adding a little bit of the brown and some dots also. If you add too much, you can always do a lift. That means you're gonna have a clean brush and you're gonna go back to your area where the paint got too wild, and you just wipe off with your brush, and then you clean your brush again, and you can do this as many times as you need just to give some highlights. Now I'm adding a little bit of my darkest brown. This was my burnt sienna, and some areas on the edge of the leaves. I put it some here on the bottom. That's where it meets the stem, and pretty much that's where always the leaf start to get dry. Same color for the stem, and just put in a little bit dots here and there just to give more details to my leaf. Remember, it doesn't have to be perfect. Leaves are not perfect, so every single one is gonna look different. They're gonna have their own, details, their own personality. And also at the end, I will be applying some of my watercolor pencils to give more details to my leaves. If you don't have watercolor pencils, you can always go back to your watercolor paint, and with a skinnier brush you can add some more details to your leaves. Just have to make sure that they're completely dry before you add any details. I'm going to my fourth leaf, and this one is a green one, and I'm just adding the sub green, going on the edges first, keeping the center nice and light, and then I'm gonna put a little bit of my brown, and I'm just gonna add it to the center. Then I'm gonna clean my brush and go back to it and just give a little bit of blend, so it's not like a harsh line. We just want to make sure this is spreading nice, and you can add as much as you want or as little as you want. I like to have like different colors in my leaf, so that's why I'm keeping my sap green on the edge, a little bit lighter in the center, and then my brown in the center, and then my stem is gonna be the darkest brown. Going back to the edge with the sap green, just making some more details for this one. And then we're gonna be working on these other fall leaves. In this case, they're like seeds. So I went ahead and started using my vermilion. Not too much water on this one. I want to keep that nice color, and I'm going in circles, but I'm keeping a highlight. In this case, my sun is coming from the left hand side, so I'm keeping some of the highlight on the left hand side. So what you do is just go in the circle and keep some area without putting any paint at all. Just keep that little dot of light, and it's gonna look like the sunlight is hitting your seeds right there. And then I put the sap green for the leaves. We're gonna let this dry, and then we will go back to it to put the stems. This one, I'm just using my burnt sienna, very light on the color. I added a lot of water first, and my shadow is gonna be on the left hand side, so I'm applying more concentrated color on the left and blend it to the right. So the lightest color will be on your right, and your darker color would be on your left. Also remember, this kind of seed has like a little top, so underneath the top is gonna be darker. So we will be going with a brown and applying that one on the top of this seed. Like you can see it right here on the top. Then I went back to my seeds, my orange seeds, and this one is already dried, so I'm just adding the stems. I started with the brown first, and then I'm gonna be adding a little bit more of the sap green, just to give some kind of like a gradient to this flower kind of stems. And I'm just adding a little bit more leaves. I needed some more green on this area and some also up here. And this is very simple. Just take your brush and touch your paper with the tip of the brush and press, and you're just gonna make simple beautiful leaves. I'm going back to my seeds and I'm doing the tops. For this one I'm using the same color, just the burnt sienna, very light. A lot of water, not too much paint, and we're gonna be keeping the right side lighter and the left side is gonna be a darker color. So we're gonna go back and add a little bit more of the brown, and if it's too much paint, just do some lifting and make sure you move the paint so it's nice and even. We're gonna apply a little bit more brown just to the left and some areas on the top and a little bit on the bottom. This is the shadow where the top piece meets the seed, so that area has to be darker. So I'm just gonna add a little bit more. I feel that it needed a little bit more shadow, so that's what I'm doing right now. Applying a little bit more to both of them. We can also wait until it dries completely, and then if it needs a little bit more shadow, you can always go back and add some more. So now I decided to put some peonies. This area here on the left and the right, they just feel like too empty, too much white spaces. So I'm just using my brush. I'm gonna use it sideways to give this nice kind of like round petals, and I'm going to the bottom and doing the same strokes, just adding a little bit some petals like a C stroke, and then we're gonna do the touch with the C's. As long as your peony is kind of like a round shape, it's gonna look very natural. So make sure you keep this flower nice and round, and you can add as many layers as you want so you make it more fluffy. I'm adding a little bit of my vermilion with a little bit of brown to make my orange a little bit darker, and I'm just adding this color on the center of my flower, on the bottom center, and then some areas on top of the flower, just to give some highlights and contrast. Adding some touches, some areas here on top, and of course the center bottom, and it's some darker colors in there. And then I'm gonna go with a second layer of my C strokes just to make it a little bit more fluffy, and I'm just using the same color. And then I added a little bit water to my brush and went around with the second strokes. Now I'm putting some of the leaves. This is very simple. You just take your brush and press on the paper and make a leaf stroke. The leaves are supposed to be touching your flowers, so that's how it looks more natural. They should not be outside just hanging out somewhere. They need to be between your flower petals and touching your petals. So I'm doing the second flower with my vermilion and a little bit of my burnt sienna, just a touch on the color to make this beautiful orangey earthy color. And same concept, I'm just doing the C strokes using the side of my brush sideways, and then I'm applying a little bit of my rose, red rose, and with a hint of brown, just to make some areas a little bit darker, and that's gonna be the center of my flower, which is gonna be darker, and some areas on the top. So please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I will really appreciate it. Make sure you give it a like so other people can see this video and learn from it. I'm just adding a few more details to this flower. I'm gonna put some dots here inside the flower. The pennies, they're famous for these dots, so we're just adding those. And then I'm gonna be putting some leaves with the sap green, and the same thing, we're just making some easy, simple leaves. Just press on your brush, press, and you got a leaf. And you can use a little bit of water. It's good to have contrast between your leaves. You can put a darker one, then you add some water and put a lighter one, and it's gonna give you more organic look. Then I'm going back to the center with my darker green, and I decided to use my watercolor pencils to add some more details, like the ribs of the leaves. And this is just brown, and I'm just making some marks for the leaves, adding some more shadow to this seed. Remember, our shadow, we decided to put it on the left hand side, so that's the darkest color, and then we're gonna keep the right with our lighter color. And going underneath, making this shape a little bit better. And then we're going back to this one, applying, this is a lighter brown, because this leaf is on the lighter color, so your marks, they have to be on the lighter color. And I'm using the same color for the other leaf. For this one, I'm using my orange, and I'm just going to the right hand side, applying the darker orange, going in a semicircle. Remember to keep your highlight, do not cover the highlight, because that's what gonna give the natural look to your seeds. And then for this one, I'm using kind of like olive green, very light olive green, and I'm just going on the edge. So pretty much this is it for now. I'm just doing the final details. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you liked it, and I see you in my next video. Bye bye, friends. Take care.